This is the 18th season of Bass Talk Live. With your host, Matt Pangrack. BTL is brought to you by Lowrance, Bass Cat Boats, AFCO, Strike King Lures, Sunline, Big Bite Baits, Spro, X-Zone Lures, Gamakatsu, The Bass Tank, Denali Rods, and Pro Guide Batteries.
BTL, coming at you.
Good morning and welcome to another exciting edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where we are going to talk about bass fishing. If you notice a little tweak in the intro, like I said, I'm still in Jeffrey's, the BTL studio for another month or two until I get the studio finished at my house, and then I'm going to keep a lot of the same elements moving forward in January, but also going to change some things up. Probably, I would say the basketball posters will probably be gone, and there will probably be no bowling pins in the background or Black Flag albums. Other than that, it'll pretty much be the same with fishing memorabilia. But anyway, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 monitors, 3 modems, 2 soundboards. Anyway, there's one little computer monitor, and all it does is the bumper music, the BTL intro music that gets everybody up and going in the morning. And I came in this morning, and it said imminent hard drive failure on that computer, which like I said, I'm fairly tech savvy, not incredibly tech savvy, but it said press F1 to continue. So I pressed F1, and then it gave me a deal that was like, your whole system's crashing, hope you backed it up. So there's like 9 songs on that entire deal. So we'll have to figure something out for the rest of the week, but just a little bit different intro. Also, we had a little change up in the guest lineup. Last week I mentioned I was talking with Brad Hallman, and he was chatting with his buddy Jared Lintner. You know, Hallman back on the Elite Series, so I called Lintner to get Jared on the show, because he's been on the show for a long time. Actually, if you look in the background there, you can't see it right now, but there is a Bass Zone jersey that Jared Lintner wore for an entire season on the Bassmaster Elite Series back there. But we were originally going to have Marty Stone on. He was going to talk about his MJS Academy, talk about the changes back to the 5-fish limit in the majority of the BPT tournaments next year, excluding heavy hitters and the team series. And he called me yesterday and said that he just moved into a new house. I don't know really the details about it, but he basically said that he's 6 weeks into this new house, and he has located standing water around his premises that he could, quote, throw a buzzbait in. And there's not supposed to be any standing water around there, and it's a debacle, I guess, for Mr. Stone. So we pushed him to next week while he takes care of things at home. And we got Jared Lintner on. Now, Lintner's got a lot going on. I just saw, if you follow his social media, he's got a brand new boat in the garage. He's actually, after our interview today, headed to the lake to break in said boat. Going to talk to him about his thoughts on the change to the 5-fish format. We had him on like right after he had moved to Georgia. Now he's fully settled in there. He is a Georgian. I mean, he doesn't have, I'm looking at him here in the deal, he doesn't have a Bulldogs shirt on yet, but I'm sure that just give him like a month or two and he'll be a Georgia Bulldog for sure. Here, let's bring him in right now. Yeah, no Bulldogs apparel yet, huh, Lintner?
No, that's a new thing. Like, basically, yeah, last year when I moved to Georgia, just fishing around here, I noticed about 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon on the Saturdays, nobody's at the lake. Nobody's at the store. Everybody's watching college football. So I don't know, just growing up in California, college football wasn't like the thing, but obviously Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, these people live and die, you know, and just, I mean, it's a whole thing. It's still kind of weird. Like, they'll cancel tournaments. Like, oh, Georgia and Alabama are playing. There's a tournament that day. That tournament's canceled. And I'm like, what?
Really?
Oh, yeah. It's happened.
I would assume then there will be no jackpots in the state of Georgia this Saturday, as Georgia is playing Tennessee in probably one of the biggest SEC games ever.
Yeah, I haven't heard about any tournaments whatsoever, so that's probably why. I didn't even know that game was going on this weekend. That's how out of
You didn't even know that Georgia was playing Tennessee this weekend? That's criminal, Jared. You have to embrace the culture now that you're Covington, right?
Yes, Covington.
Now that you're a Covington, Georgia resident. You were talking about possibly shooting a deer off your deck. That's the most Georgia thing ever. If you're going to do that, you got to know that Georgia's playing Tennessee this weekend.
Here's the thing about it. So the friends I've met and the buddies I already have down here already, Barry and some of these guys, since I moved here, Georgia won the national championship last year. So they feel like I'm bringing them good luck, even though I have no idea what's going on. Like I just learned the other day that University of Georgia is an hour north of me in Athens, which I had no idea. I went up there to a gun store, tackle gun store, to check that out. No idea the University of Georgia is there. Everybody's like, what is wrong with you? The other day, we're driving down the road. People got these flags on their cars. And I'm like, whatever, man. I mean, I just never have been into it, but obviously it's going to, get invited to, hey, come on over. We're going to grill. They don't call it barbecue, grill. And watch the game.
Have you not ever tailgated? Have you not experienced the pageantry of big time college football?
I've never been to a college football game ever.
Dude, I feel like you need to expand your horizons.
We're going. Yeah. Like Brandon Coulter invited me anytime I want. They got like season tickets or something up there to Tennessee. So he's like, dude, you have to come up there. It's a great time. So I don't know. I'll figure it out.
Take Carrie, pack up a day bag, get a couple of cold pops, go up there. Just don't plan anything for 48 hours and roll with it, and you will understand. You'll understand what it's all about. It's
like Talladega, huh? Like that's the deal.
Yeah, I mean it's insane.
All right, I'll have to take the kid and the wife, and we'll go do this.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, I wasn't expecting to go that direction, but I feel like, I feel like within 2 years you're gonna be like, remember when Jamie Horton had the elephant and the roll tide on the back of the back? Yeah. I feel like you might have the big G.
No, I don't know. Steve Kennedy with the Auburn Tigers, right?
Yeah. Well, that's his whole rap and everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe I'll get into it like that. Just put.
And he comes into Eye of the Tiger. Because it's the Auburn Tigers, but then they say War Eagle. It's confusing there. His whole rap is based on like it's baby blue because he feels like the fish are more likely to eat his stuff closer to the boat because a solid boat like hull and wrap on the side and like jersey is like stands out more. So that's why all of his stuff is like kind of light aqua camo broken up because he thinks he gets more commitment of a fish that he's got like on a chain on a swim bait or something real close to the boat.
Have you asked him that? Like,
I'm like 99.99% sure we've had him on. He's talked about it.
So in California, like Lake Shasta, Lake Orville, years ago, these guys would get these they look like little oval, basically stickers that had hologram on them. And they would put them under the boat, like on the hull of the boat. And they were saying that when the sun's out, that would reflect off the water onto the bottom of their boat and it would look like a school of shad, and these spotted bass would swim up to their boat and they'd catch them.
No way.
I swear, man, there was a whole thing. Like everybody was having these. I'm like, I ain't putting that sticker on my.
Wait, run me through this again, Jared. So you have your regular boat. It's got a white hull on it, I would assume.
Yeah.
And they would put like chrome.
Yeah, like a hologram, like 1.5 2 inch long oval sticker. They'd cut them out, like go to a craft store.
Okay, I'm with you.
And you cut them out so they're oval and they're about 1.5 2 inches long, and they got like hologram on it. So when you put a hologram sticker like out in the sun, right, it's going to reflect, right, just like a boat. Yeah. And they would stick them all, like 1,000 of them, underneath the hull of the boat, and they really believed that they'd be out in the middle of the lake or whatever, deep, clear water. Mm-hmm. And the sunlight reflecting off the water would come back, hit the bottom of their boat, and it would shine, and the fish thought there was a school of shad up there, and they'd swim up to the boat, and then they'd catch them. I'm just telling you, dude, I'd never got involved in it. I know some of those guys caught them really well. So
is that still a thing out there, or how long ago was this?
It was probably late 90s. Late 90s. Yeah.
Dude, I'm thinking that.
Now, yeah. There you go. Start selling stickers.
I mean, you would probably sell some.
Why wouldn't you do like in muddy water? Like, why wouldn't you just get some like fluorescent orange ones and like a crawdad and just
like
your boat,
like an orange kicker blade hull?
Yeah, it'd be perfect.
That's interesting. I've never. You don't put much thought into that, do you? As far as like the hull and water displacement and how much your presence affects the fish.
In the spring, sight fishing stuff, I really pay attention to what I'm wearing. Obviously, dude, the fish are smart. They know, especially nowadays, everybody with the forward-facing sonar. I'm using Garmin Panoptics. I mean, some of these fish now, you still see them out there, but they ain't sitting there for long because I really believe they could feel that pinging, that beam hitting them, and they're getting so educated now that they swim off. Like Lanier, a couple of years ago, like you'd almost catch every one of them. Now you might catch one. Like it's getting to be pretty wild. Like it's a different, I don't know. It's just a totally different way of fishing as we all grew up doing. And I think at some point it's going to revert back to, the bank beaters or, those fish up on the bank aren't seeing near as much pressure as they did 10, 15 years ago at all. So I'm very aware of what's going on, and I try to minimize boat noise. But with all that being said, when you have a 20, 21 foot boat sitting on top of their house, they know what's going on. I mean, there's only so much you can do. And I guess, how fishing is as long as you're confident in what you got going on, whether it's putting stickers on the bottom of your boat or wearing a gray shirt on overcast days, whatever it may be, then that's going to help you be successful. If you're not confident, like I don't believe I can put stickers on my boat and go out there and catch more fish than the guy next to me. I don't. But if somebody does, more power to him, man. I mean, I'm not going to say that he doesn't know what he's doing. It's just not the way I roll.
The sight fishing guys, the thing that I'd never thought of, and the sight fishing guys are pretty adamant. Some of them don't. I mean, look at Skeet Reese. The guy looks like Big Bird out there, and he's won every title and millions of dollars known to man. But I'd say that with all due respect. You could say the same about Bobby Lade, or you could say the same about any of those guys, Kevin, black and red and all that, dark. But was the underbill of the hat during sight fishing. There are some guys that are very conscious of what color the underbill of their hat is, which had never crossed my mind until they were like, dude, you got to get that white underbill of the hat out of there. They're like, that's the only thing the fish see. It's just this big block when they look out of the water.
Yeah. And your eyes, right? Like I'm wearing a black, under the bill. If you have white, when you're wearing those glasses and stuff, the reflection off the water, you're not going to see as good if you're wearing white underneath. So, and I read an article years and years ago, long time ago, from Elton Jones, really, exceptional sight fisherman, right? And he talked about the wearing colors to kind of match the sky so that your silhouette's going to be there. But if you're wearing, say, a white shirt, you're going to stand out more if you're wearing like a baby blue shirt or a light gray shirt or something like that. And I've used that. I've always remembered that. And I'm, when I go to say, I was going to Lanier tomorrow, they're not spawning, but it is clear water. I'm not going to wear a Skeet Reese yellow shirt or a, bright red or something like that. I'm going to wear more natural colors. So, and again, it goes back to that thing about the stickers. That's what I'm confident in. Obviously, Bobby Lane, Fletcher, Skeet, all the guys you named. I mean, shoot, man, I mean, hands down, they're catching them. So it doesn't really matter, I guess, but it matters in my mind.
I got you. Are you the same that way around like hydrilla? So like I just got done with the open at Rayburn, and my co-angler were there, and he's like, you don't shut all your electronics off? And I was like, what? And he's like, well, we're like 5 feet from the edge here. He's like, I always shut mine off. And I was like, dude, I don't punch enough to know what does and doesn't make a difference. I was like, I'm just gonna roll down this. Are you what are you? That's the truth. Are you conscientious of that stuff when you're in the grass, or does the grass mask you a lot more?
It does. It depends on how clear the water is to me. So like the Delta, for example, extremely clear water now because of all the good grass, lots of hydrilla, pennywort, all that stuff. And yeah, I'll put my Garmin's in sleep mode and be as stealthy as possible. Just because they're in grass doesn't mean that they lose their senses, meaning they know what's going on, man. These fish are getting a lot of pressure. As far as the color thing, if I'm flipping mats, I don't believe that they can see outside of the mat.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. But as far as the boat noise, like it drives me nuts. If I have a co-angler or shoot, even my son, he's learning, or even Nick, and you're flipping hydrilla and somebody's back there banging around, eating a sandwich, slamming the lid on the ice chest, opening boxes, throwing them on the floor of the boat, walking around, playing music on their phone. I'm like, dude, that's enough of that. Like certain situations, I don't care. But when you're up close, personal with them, you got to be kind of stealthy. The sunlight is killing me.
No, you look fantastic. It's well lit. You look amazing. So I had a conversation then with John Sokup. He just qualified for the Elite Series. He fishes out of an aluminum. And shockingly, not all of his fish are caught using forward-facing sonar technology. He's actually very adept at shallow water fishing. And I'm also looking at other guys who are power fishermen, John Cox, Keith Carson, a lot of the guys who like to get up there in the stuff. And yeah, you can you can access the water a lot easier, and there's stuff that you can get to that you can't get in a glass boat. But John, one time, was convinced that he caught more ultra shallow fish in a aluminum boat because it did not impact the water surface as much and push water while he was moving. It sat more on top of the water because it was lighter, and that as sensitive as those fish in 8 to 2 foot of water are, a big fiberglass hull going through there pressurized the water, allowed them something was there, and put them more on edge to where he could stealthily just slide in aluminum. You heard that? Do you believe in that too?
I've never heard that, but that makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, I could really see that. Actually, I just talked with a guy yesterday. I might buy this little 17-foot, Alumacraft, electric motor only, because we have all these little lakes around here. And there is some areas on these lakes where I'm going to go break in my boat here in a minute. I can't get my boat into. So I'm thinking about doing that, but that makes a lot of sense because so Clear Lake, Delta, Santa Margarita, some of these lakes I fished a lot in California. Certain times when they get super skinny, right? Like you said, 8, 10, 12 inches. I always thought that I was spooking them, but if I got close to the bank, so super far, like as far as you can cast, and you get those bites, right? But what you're saying makes even more sense. Like if I'm 75 yards away from them, I'm not, I guess, pushing water like you said. Whereas if I was 30 yards away from them, that boat presence might be more
water displacement.
Yes,
what Clay said.
That makes a lot of sense, man. I mean, I actually learned something from you, or actually from
John. Yeah, it kind of blew my mind. I didn't know if it was true or not or whatever. And then one more. Let's just dive down this wormhole of possible conspiracy theories and things most anglers don't even think about that could be causing a difference. Are you a trolling motor constant on low or a intermittent trolling motor guy? Because I have gone back and forth as to pump it once on 8 or 10 and then glide in there, or just constantly just go brrr, and they get used to it. Because I've heard top guys who have won millions of dollars, and you'll see 50-50 on that.
Yeah, I'm more of a, like, it depends on what I'm doing, right? If I'm covering water, I just got it on constant, not too high. So my son is starting to fish high school tournaments, and this is a really good example. So I said, here, you run the boat, you do the whole thing. I had to drive the boat to wherever they wanted to go, and we fished a derby the other day. And it was driving me crazy because he was doing what you were talking about. Like, he'd have it on like 8 or 10 and like and stop. And I'm like, dude, you can accomplish the same thing, just mellow it out. So like, you're blasting everything around you to get, 20 feet ahead, but the water you're ruining right now, it was driving me nuts. So finally I said, look, dude, you gotta like, mellow out. So I guess I would be more one of those guys that kind of more constant, more, I don't know, just if I want to get somewhere, I'm going to kick it up and I'm going to go.
Right.
But if I'm just fishing, I'm not a guy that and then coast and do all that. Yeah, that's not me.
Because there's some guys that believe that the trolling motor is the original hydro wave. Because especially with the GoPro, if you watch and live, a lot of times after, like, right as soon as a guy hits his trolling motor in an opposite direction, triggers a bite. Have you ever noticed that?
I have. And it's interesting, too, that you said that, because not so much like, your Clear Lakes and stuff, but when we go up north, say St. Lawrence River or, some of the Great Lakes, even Cayuga, right? Mm-hmm. I'll have the hydro wave on or whatever. It's weird to me, and part of it's because those fish don't see boats every day. I mean, it's frozen over, and they don't even have a season for 6 months, so they don't really get fished for as much as, say Guntersville. A lot of these fish will come up and like look. You'll see these smallmouth just swim up and look at your trolling motor and swim back down, and you're like, "What? Why would they do that?" And yeah. I think it's just something different. It's creating obviously current and electric, whatever. And there's something going on. And those fish, I always thought that they're going, like they got the better of me, kind of. Like they're showing off, like, hey, see what you missed? I'm not going to bite now. But
I think there's something there,
dude. I really believe that. I mean, I do. Because I've seen it happen way too many times. Like, you just be out there fishing, you see them on Panoptics out there swimming around, and then you look, and there's one like looking at your trolling motor, and you're like, what is he doing? And it's almost like, hey, you're not going to catch me. I think they're just like showing off.
You really want to blow some people's minds now? Let's go down this route. Do you strap your rods on the front deck of the boat before you get to the lake? Like, let's say you're staying 20 miles from the lake.
Nope. I don't. Yeah. I don't, just because the road grime and stuff, especially, like we just had rain here. When I go to take my boat out, roads are going to have a little stuff on them. They're going to kick up, getting your reels. I just don't like it. I mean, the thing about, not having my rods on my deck because people are going to see what I'm throwing, I don't believe in that. Like, I remember growing up and fishing Gold Coast Bass Club, Tri-Valley Bass Club. And these guys would show up with aluminum foil wrapped around their crankbaits and their worms and stuff. And
so
you're like,
you couldn't see what they were throwing.
What are you doing? You got hot dogs in there? Like, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. And I said this to a guy about my tire the other day. I asked one of these guys a long time ago at Lake Achuma, I go, why are you doing that? And he goes, well, so people like you, they're trying to look at my baits, don't see what I'm throwing. So I'm like, okay. I mean, it makes sense, I guess. But no, I do not. Very seldom will I tow pretty much anywhere, with my rods on my deck. Just the way I roll.
I know guys who believe that if they have soft plastics on the deck, that the exhaust from their truck will seep into the soft plastics, and there's something in that exhaust that the bass do not like, that have an aversion to. So, you tow that time, you've got a diesel truck, you hit the gas to pass someone, and now you have basically a barrier coating of straight exhaust that is now leached into your plastics.
I mean, yes, I can see that. I mean, these fish are sensitive, okay, so my brand new boat right now, what's driving me crazy is, you open the lids up when it's brand new, and that smell from the fiberglass and everything is brand new.
Yeah.
So I waited until last night to put any tackle in there. And first thing I thought of this morning was, I wonder how that's going to be when I open my box of, my robo worms, for example. So if they stink, not good.
I think that Knowing Bass book, or there's one of the books, one of the guys who was like very influential in the remember the 18X power bait, commercials from back in the day. I think he wrote the book, and one of the things that always stuck out with me is like tobacco, cigarettes, gas. Fish don't care. You can soak stuff in it and they'll bite it like that. Because I was like, boy, why would you get gas the same morning? But they don't care about that. But the active ingredient in sunscreen, despise it, will not touch it, will not get around it. So like, then there's stuff you don't even realize. Like, you've got a co-angler, the wind's blowing back towards you, and the dude just slathers the spray on sunscreen on. Well, now all your stuff has a sunscreen on it. You're fishing, you're flipping, you're touching your bait every cast. You put it on your legs and your feet so you don't end up looking like a lobster. But the first thing you do when you sit down is you touch your knees and your legs where you just applied the sunscreen. Then you go up and touch your bait every cast. Like, that stuff drives me nuts.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that's why you have scents, right? Like I use this Potski fire gel stuff, and I mean, yeah, you have to wear sunscreen pretty much. And I'm really, I have that whatever Jaden uses for the deer out here, scent be gone or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I have that in the boat, and I rub my hands after I do the sunscreen, and then I put my fire gel on my baits and all that. But
what is this stuff?
Potski fire gel, man.
I'm looking it up now. It looks like trout bait.
So originally it was trout bait. It was salmon, trout, all that kind of stuff. They're from the Northwest, but they make one crawfish, a shad, and a crappie that I really, really like, and the bluegill. But anyway, what you were saying, that just reminded me of something. So when I first started bass fishing, like a long time ago, so when I was 15, right, this guy kind of see me at the lake, and I was fishing off the bank or something, and hey, I'll take you fishing if you want, if you get permission from your parents, that whole thing. So I go out there, I'm in this Glasstron, the 175, I'm like, dude, this is the deal. Like, this is awesome. We get out there, we go to the dam at Lake Lopez, and, I'm all nervous and excited and all this stuff. And this guy takes this bottle of WD-40, and his rods are laying kind of on the deck right there. The carpet's all shot out. And he takes this can of WD-40 and he sprays it on his reels, on his baits, on his line. The whole front
just coats it.
Like, what are you doing? Like, is there rust? Like, he's like, no, that's the scent, man. You put it on your reels, on your line, and on your baits. And that's the way you fish. And I'm like, what? Dude, he's smoking them. He's throwing a single tail grub on the dam on a jig head, smoking these fish. And I'm like, okay. So guess what I did? I stole my dad's can of WD-40 out of the garage and kept it in my little pack that I was carrying around at all the ponds, and I whacked them. So for a period of time, WD-40 was my go-to. They eat it.
Is this the stuff?
Yeah, that's it.
It comes in like a little can?
Yeah.
I've never heard of this.
Dude, it's
easy to apply. It's professional strength.
Here's the deal with this. And I don't want to turn this into a commercial, but
no. I'm curious. Are they like a sponsor of yours, or do you just use it?
Yeah. No. So I was using it, and then they're like, "Hey," somehow or another, they probably were watching a Tackle Warehouse vlog, and they seen that I had some in my boat somewhere, and they contacted me, and they're like, "Hey,
okay,
we really like this." Here's what I really like about it is you take a toothbrush, like an old toothbrush, okay, and say you take that shad scent, get a little bit on that toothbrush, and you get a jerk bait or your shad crankbait or a swim jig, and you can comb that stuff over so you don't apply it too much on one side or the other. Does that make sense? Like it'll spread out evenly. And that shad right there that you're showing a picture of will stay on that jerk bait for hours. And I believe, you know how these fish, like we're talking about, they're getting educated, even with a jerk bait, which is reaction bait. I feel like I get more bites because, you know, especially a jerk bait, they'll come up and look at it, follow it. They eat it. I promise you they eat it.
Hey.
And a crankbait too. Like I've tried it over the years, you know, smelly jelly and these other more liquid type stuff. Put it on a crankbait. You throw it 10, 12 times. It's gone. That stuff right there will stay on there till you want it to come off.
Kevin Van Dam has that scent thing out that is literally in the size. He's got the bigger one, but he also has the ones in the size of a chapstick. Like it literally looks like chapstick and is chapstick. I feel like it's a cruel, like literally I have applied it before because I just had it in the glove box and I was like, you put it on, it's kind of sticky, but that'll kind of stay with it too. Yeah. Similar. Yes. Mm-hmm. That's good stuff. All right. Let's take a break. Really enjoyed that segment. Let's take a break. When we come back, I want to get your thoughts. You've had a very solid run under the Every Fish Counts format with the BPT, 18th, 41st, 62nd, and 29th in the 4 years of cast, catch, count, and mount. So when we come back, I want to get your thoughts on going back to the 5 fish. I mean, you're a guy, I'm going to say, you're a Californian dude. You kind of made your name over in Bassmaster in the Elite Series as hucking the big wood, bringing out the big plastic, going for broke. So I want to get your thoughts on how you think that that'll change things moving forward. It is BTL on a Tuesday with Covington, Georgia's and Georgia Bulldogs' newest #1 fan, Jared Lintner. We'll be back right after this.
Your key to better fishing this season is Elite FS, now available at a new lower price. Get Elite FS9 today for $9.99, and we'll throw in a C-Map reveal chart, our premium mapping solution, for free. Elite FS works with all state-of-the-art Lowrance sonar, from chirp, side scan, and down scan imaging with fish reveal to high-resolution active target live sonar. Elite FS9 and C-Map reveal. Offer ends August 31st.
The new Puma STS has been redesigned from the ground up. With the angler, design, function, and performance in mind, nothing on this new offering was compromised, and the only thing carried over from the previous version is the name. Based on the Soft Touch series hull that started with the flagship Jaguar, this new model is nimble and performs incredibly well at all speeds with either a 250 or 300 horsepower engine. Featuring a new 96-inch wide-body footprint, this hull measures out at 20 foot 7 inches in length. Industry-leading design coupled with tournament-winning performance. The Puma STS from Basscat. Feel the rush.
We're just about ready to go, ladies and gentlemen. Get in order.
Once again, Drew Cook is in the driver's seat.
When you're catching fish for a living, you can't let a little cold, rain, heat, humidity, or anything else get in the way of a payday. I wear APCO. Any fish, any water.
The KVD 100 jerkbait. 15 different colors. A perfect combination of roll, wiggle, and flash. Increased castability. 3D eyes. Premium black nickel hooks. KVD. Tie one on. Striking lures.
Elite Series Pro Daryl Gleason here. My Pro Guide batteries keep me going on those long tournament days and long practice days. Always plenty of juice, never fail. The best part about Pro Guide batteries, it's the people behind the company. They have over 40 years experience in the battery business, keeping all of us fishermen out on the water longer, catching more fish. Check them out at ProGuideBatteries.com.
What's up, Bass Talk Live fans? Brandon Polnick here. And ever since I won a couple Bassmaster Elite Series events on X-Zone Lures, I've been getting a bunch of questions of what makes them so special and different. And really, the truth is, it's in the details. The little details, things like no cheap fillers in their plastic. That gives you more lifelike action, more realistic and vibrant colors. But don't just take my word for it. Go to www.xzonelures.com and check them out for yourself.
Are you looking to install your own fishing electronics? Well, the Bass Tank is here to help you. The solution is the Bass Tank Power Harness. It takes the guesswork out of installation. No more voltage issues or interference. Designed by an engineer so that you can get professional results right there in your own garage. Installation done right with the help of the Bass Tank Power Harness. You can feel confident knowing that your installation was done right. The Bass Tank Power Harness. Give us a call or order yours today at thebasstank.com.
All right, welcome back. BTL on a Tuesday with, it just sounds weird, Georgia's Jared Lintner. Are you used to it yet? I mean, you've got a great spread there. You showed me you got a pool. You looks like you have some conifers, some mature conifers in the background.
Oh yeah, we got it going on. No, we're really liking it. We've been here a full year now, so the seasons are pretty amazing. The leaves are falling, so that's driving me nuts. They're getting all over the place, but acorns are falling. I mean, that's why I'm sitting on this side. We got a big oak tree right here, dude. And those acorns would knock you out from 40 feet down. But, hey, I got to ask you a question. So I was watching, the commercial break there and these Pro Guide batteries, right? So I've been running these Bioenno lithium batteries in my boat. And for years, I was just getting like Odyssey AGMs for my cranking and stuff.
Right.
Well, they were like out of stock and all this. So I purchased these Pro Guide 31 AGM batteries, 2 of them, because I run them parallel. So did I do good or not? I seen them on there like, oh, that's a thing.
So I'm still running the 31 AGMs in this Bass Cat that I've run all year. And in the opens, this, like I said, that's a testimonial for a company that sponsors the show. So like the last open, they have 200 boats in these things and the flights are all spread out. Right. So I fished from 7 a.m. to 5:45 p.m. on Rayburn on high, chasing fish on forward-facing sonar offshore with a jerkbait in a 10-mile-an-hour wind. And at 5:45, I looked at my co-angler and I was like, dude, I don't have the lithiums and these things still have power in them.
Wow.
So yeah, like I have nothing against them. So like next year I'm going to have the power pole charge with the Pro Guide lithiums and the whole 9 yards. I just didn't want to do like a mid-year switch when it came out, but like I love them. And then, we've had Matt on before. It was one of the best shows that we did. Like I just asked dumb battery questions for 2 hours and I learned so much about batteries. I feel like batteries are so important and you don't ever think about them until they're like referees, right? Like a good referee, you never even know they exist. And you go like, that was a heck of a game. Yep. You want your batteries to be like referees, to perform without ever becoming an issue or the star of the show.
That, without a doubt. So when we were talking about the rods on the deck and all that, the thing that keeps me awake at night or that I'm most concerned about, like Carrie, she'll get VRBOs or hotels, whatever, for when I'm traveling. The number one thing the first thing she asks, is there outside plugins? Do they work? Mm-hmm. Like, because without that, you might as well not even show up. If you don't, these guys, like you said, some of these guys, I didn't charge my batteries for 2 weeks and we're driving to the lake to fish out of their boat. And I'm like, turn around, we're done. Like, I don't even want to deal with it. I don't know. It's just. But
with the lithiums, you can get away with that now.
You can, and especially with the power pole charge, which I have on the boat. And that's however they did that is amazing because, like I mentioned, I got my Bioennos, my 2 lithiums rigged parallel for my trolling. And then I have my 2 AGM Pro Guide 30 series for my cranking and my graphs and all that. run parallel, and that charge, however they do it, you program it through the app, and it charges both. Whereas before the charge, and I started getting into lithiums, I had the onboard for my cranking set up, and then I carried a big old, 75-pound hand charger. Basically, you plug it into the wall, and you couldn't leave it out in the rain. It was a whole system. It was a whole thing. But yeah, batteries, very important. I just wanted to ask you about the Pro Guide, because I've been super. I've never used them. I just wanted to know if, obviously, they're legit, I guess.
Yeah, battery outfitters. I love them. All right, 5 fish limit, big change. 4 years of every fish counts. I mean, dude, this thing has been pumped into our heads for the last 4 years now, and obviously met with different levels of acceptability amongst the BPT guys, amongst the fans, and everything. But I knew that it was kind of on the discussion table going into this year, but it kind of shocked my system to where it was like, all right, we're going back to 5 fish for virtually all of the regular season events. Like, how long was this in the works? What are your thoughts on it? How is this going to change things?
I mean, first of all, let's back up just a hair. So the anglers that are involved, no matter what format you put them in, they're going to catch them. Jacob Wheeler, Bobby Lane. I mean, all these guys, every one of them can catch them in either formats. They've proven it. I mean, I'm not saying anything that's not true. The problem with a lot of the fan interaction, or, that kind of weird deal. Like I told you yesterday, my own mom sometimes doesn't understand which format I'm fishing. You know what I mean? Like, It's not relatable, because for all of us growing up fishing for pretty much anywhere, some random jackpot tournaments or 3 fish limit, but I would say 90-something% are 5 fish, catch, weigh, release, or catch, weigh, and then release. So it's not relatable. Like, I was out here at Lake Sinclair, just down the road, last weekend with my son's high school tournament. This guy goes, man, what's his name? Smoked him up there at Mille Lacs. And I'm like, yeah, dude. And he goes, yeah, 5 for 61 pounds. And I'm like, no, dude. No, he had like 12 or 13 or whatever it was. He's like, what? I go, yeah, it's a cumulative. So, and he's not a diehard guy.
Right.
But in his mind, when they hear, Jordan Lee, 109 pounds, guys are like, dude, there's no way he caught 5 22-pounders. You know what I mean? So it's not really relatable for the general fishing fan, I guess. So that's been a big hurdle. And a lot of the sponsors that are involved with the league and us as anglers are like, it's kind of one of those, we like what's going on over here, but at the same time, it's a hard transition. So I think having the new format, a 5 fish, catch, weigh, release, and the score tracker is really, really going to make it, like, I'm really looking forward to it, because, whether you're playing in a basketball game, a football game, baseball game, bowling, whatever, it doesn't matter. Any other sport, excuse me, the score, what what the competition has, who you're playing against, all that stuff. Now in fishing, we're going to have that. So, we've had the live leaderboards in the past, and we've had, I guess, the Bass Track. But everybody knows, I mean, when, Jason Christie says, yeah, on his Bass Track, I got 9.5 pounds, and he weighs in an hour later with 19.5 pounds.
That's a late day flurry, Jared.
What happened here? Yeah, late day flurry.
That's just a late day flurry.
But I mean, you don't know. And even at that point, as anglers, you couldn't look at the Bass Track.
Yeah.
So you couldn't even, based on the rules, you couldn't go, well, shoot, I got 10 pounds and majority of the people got 15 pounds. Now we're going to know exactly what's going on. So, like, if it's 11 o'clock and my boat official goes, okay, Jared, your best 5 are 12 pounds. The top 20 cut right now is 18 pounds. Guess what? It's time to either run as far as I can from where I'm catching these fish, or put on the biggest bait I got, or it's going to make you do something, and Score Tracker to this point has done that already. Like, if you're not catching enough, you're in the wrong zone, you're throwing the wrong baits, you got to do something to combat that. But I think having this live scoring where exactly where you stand, it's going to be like really, really cool to watch and participate in. I mean, I'm looking forward to it kind of selfishly, and I think a lot of these guys are too, because all these guys, like I said, are amazing anglers, and they all have their go-tos, whether it's throwing a big swim bait, throwing a big jig, doing whatever. Now they can go, okay, look, I don't have to get 15, 20 bites to compete. If I stick with my guns, I think by the end of the day, I can grind out 20, 22 pounds or whatever. But at the same time, if it's 2:00, you only got 3 of those good fish, and you need a couple keepers. So it's going to be a little bit of a learning curve, but I think it's going to be really exciting. Like, Nick was here last week, and he's like,
you say Nick, you're talking about Nick Salvucci, U.S. Open champ, West Coast.
That's
West Coast legend.
West Coast legend in his own mind. No, he's awesome.
Pretty good.
He's awesome. He goes, we were throwing frogs and buzz baits and stuff, and he goes, how many fish in the past 4 seasons of fishing the Bass Pro Tour have you weighed on a frog? And I'm like, that's a great question. I don't remember a particular tournament where I just crushed them on a frog. But if we were in a traditional 5 fish situation, I might have been like, all right, I can get 8 or 10 bites today on a frog. You know what I mean? So it's a different mindset, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to seeing, the adjustments that guys are going to have to make, as well as, I mean, it's kind of a really weird situation, knowing, because you know how it is. You go to at the weigh-ins at the Bassmaster Opens that you just fished. How'd you do today? Oh, I got 10 pounds, and you're waiting in line, and you're looking at the thing, going, okay, am I going to make a check? And you don't know really anything until an hour after the weigh-in, kind of. Well, now you minute to minute where you're at. So it's totally different.
That's what I said. I run around in the opens, as you get to know guys, you're like, oh, there's Andrew. You run over and you shut down if he's up on the bank, and you go, yo, thumbs up, thumbs down. What do you got? He knows the fishery. Hey, it's super tough today, or they're biting. I talked to so-and-so. He's only got 2, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, I got 11. Well, then you go, okay, well, now I'm making decisions based on it because I know I've locked up a check. It'll change. Let me ask you this, Jared. Behind the scenes, do you think this move was more angler-driven to keep the majority of the BPT anglers engaged, happy, and listen to them, or do you think it was more fan and viewership driven to try to increase the viewership numbers of the BPT going into year 5 of this?
I think it was a perfect combination of that. I really honestly do, because some polls were taken and things like that. And I think overwhelmingly that was the thing on both sides, as far as the anglers, as far as the sponsors, as far as the fans. It was, above half of all the polls were leaning towards this 5 fish catch, weigh, release. So yeah, I mean, it's yes, some anglers are going to be happy. Some anglers wanted to keep it the same, and I respect that. It's just what we have to do to keep everybody happy, to keep the fans engaged, to keep the anglers engaged, and then sponsors and yeah, I think it's going to be really good, though. I really, really do, honestly.
All right. I would like to go through the schedule, and we talked a little bit about this with your move to Georgia. The entire 2023 BPT schedule is, I wouldn't say in your backyard, but like there's no more cross-country ventures except for up north. And if you live up north, that's the only, otherwise it's a drive for everybody.
Right.
But I think the five fish format, big change to kick things off in February on Kissimmee. Now you can cruise around and try to find big betters and get fish locked down on it, and it's no longer a offshore hydrilla 2.5 pound fest, right? Like that's a major change in that event.
Oh yeah, huge. Yeah, for sure. Here's the other side of that though. So the first ever Bass Pro Tour event was at Lake Kissimmee.
Right.
And we had this nasty cold front, like bad, like normal. Whenever there's a tournament in Florida in January, February, you're going to have a cold front. Ironically, it's the night before the first day of the competition.
Always.
And you're going, man, they're not going to bite. You know, it was rainy, overcast, whatever. I mean, the whole time I'm thinking, dude, this day is not going to be good. It's going to be hard to get a bite. Well, the score tracker doesn't lie, and guys are catching them. But what's interesting about that is guys like Randall Tharp, Bobby Lane, Chris Lane, they weren't targeting those, like you said, the 2-pounders and stuff. Like I kind of was. I was fishing in a pad field. I never caught one over 5 pounds in the whole week, and I finished third in the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
I was getting a lot of bites, but I remember like Randall, when he swung, it was like a 5 to 8 pounder. Like he weighed like, I forget what the results, but it was like 8 fish for like 38 pounds or something. I mean, so just because we're in that, you know, catch, weigh, release as many fish scoreable, guys were still targeting those big ones. But now, like you said, 5 fish in Florida, that pad field, I'll go and check it. Mm-hmm. But that's not where I really want to be. You know what I mean? Because that time of year, you know, there might be some.
So I've got that pulled up, that tournament. Dude, there was not a single Florida angler that made the top 10.
Yeah.
When was the last time we were in Florida where it wasn't? I mean, there were 2 in the top 20. Big Show snuck in 19th, and Bobby was in 12th. But outside of that, you look at the guys who's traditionally, I mean, I think that changed it a lot. I mean, it was Jordan, Edwin, you, Gags, AJ Jr., Randy Howell, Michael Neal, Jeff Sprague, Connell, and Taco.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, it's, you know how Florida is, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. But I think getting back to the 5 fish, you know, those guys, like
the guys who catch them are still going to catch them. That's a matter. I don't like the people. Okay, so like Sean, or not Sean. Sean saying Wheeler's catching him. We'll catch him. Agree. Where was the one I saw it? Pete said the same thing. Wheeler Clay said the same thing. Oh, Jason said, "Is this the Jacob Wheeler rule?" I don't think this had anything to do with a couple guys dominating on this. Like one of the biggest proponents, I would say probably the biggest proponent of this would be Jordan Lee, who just came off a 2nd Angler of the Year. He won the first BPT and he was the Angler of the Year a couple years ago. I mean, the guy was making bukus of money on it, and Wheeler came out and said that, you know, it doesn't matter. Like you said, I don't think that can be stressed enough. The guys who catch him are going to catch him whether it was a 10, whether it was a 5, whether it was an every fish count, whether it was a 4-pound minimum. Yeah, there's going to be certain tweaks and things that are going to benefit styles of anglers, but if you're good, you're freaking good.
Absolutely. I mean, that's been proven. I mean, these guys, it doesn't matter if they go fish a single big fish tournament, they're going to catch them. You know what I mean? It doesn't really matter.
But I do like the schedule because I feel at Cherokee and Douglas and at Murray, those 2 events, like, I mean, that's going to bring a lot more largemouth back into play and hero runs and decision makings and swim baits back into play. I mean, there's just a lot more stuff. I mean, the up north stuff, Cayuga, like, let's just say perhaps an individual catches one of the top 5 biggest smallmouth ever caught in tournament competition that may or may not weigh 7 pounds, 10 ounces, and it doesn't move him at all, and there's no significance to his standing with it. And a dude catches 2 3.5s under the dock and has the exact same weight as a guy who literally just caught a fish of a lifetime, that has chapped me to no end. Dude, you catch a 7-10 smallmouth in a tournament, there's a flaw in your system, Jared, if that does you no good. A 7-10 smallmouth did him no good. I mean, it got him closer to the next spot. Dude, you should be eating ham sandwiches at 11 going, holy cow, let's crack 30 pounds today.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. And you know, I think we talked about this yesterday. I was telling Carrie a while back when I was organizing my shop, all my tackle, I'm like, I guess it's time to, you know, get rid of a lot of my big baits. Like, because I'm not really, I haven't really been throwing them except for when I'm fishing around here, or, you know, I go to Gunnersville on a fun trip or something like that. But now, not now. I ain't selling none of that stuff because it's all going back in the boat because, like you said, you catch one of those tanks and it's going to jump you way up there. You know, like at Mille Lacs, if we were there, if we had this same scenario going into that tournament, by the time you get to, you know, if I had 18 pounds and I'm in 22nd place on 5, but I needed a 4-pounder to jump up there, or a 6-pounder, right, to give me 4 extra pounds to jump up into the cut, I'm pulling out a freaking 10-inch triple trout. I'm going to do that. But in the way it was, you know, our format that we just fished in, you're like, okay, I need 2 3-pounders. I'm right back there. So exactly what you said. So it's just a different strategy. If that makes sense.
100%. All right. I know you got to go break in the new Vexus. Are you cool to stick around with one more segment? Selfishly, I have a couple questions about perhaps a little beefier drop shot. If I remember, you may or may not have caught some studs on it to kick things off of the year. Kind of one of your deals that's been in your bag of tricks for a number of years and has put some fish in the boat. I don't have it dialed in. I fancy myself a Oklahoma drop shotter, and I was wondering if I could maybe learn from one of the best who knows how to beef it up a little.
Sure, I got it. It's right here.
All right, we'll come back right after this. It is the power shot, the Bubba shot. I guess you're in Georgia now, so you got to call it the Bubba shot, or the Ugga shot. The Ugga shot. That's the name of the bulldog, I believe, is Ugga.
Ugga?
You probably didn't know that.
I had no idea.
I think it is. Let me Google it.
Ugga.
Ugga.
Really?
Ugga. UGA.
So they actually have a mascot dog like on the field at their home games?
Dude, you can't ask this stuff on air. You're losing a lot of Georgia fans. Yes, they have a white bulldog named Ugga. He wears a red Georgia jersey. Really? He has attacked opposing team. I don't know if this version of Ugga has, but in the past, Ugga has tried to viciously attack opposing team players during the game. He is royalty in the state of Georgia. That would be Ugga, the bulldog.
What's the number on his jersey?
I believe it just says G. I don't think he has a number.
Nice. All right.
Ugga. All right. Tuesday with Jared Lintner. We'll be back right after this. Have you considered purchasing new electronics for your rig? The type of mounts you choose to protect your investment should be part of the decision-making process. No matter if you prefer 1, 2, or 3 graphs up front, Beatdown Outdoors has a solution for you. Adjustable, versatile, rigid, and made in the USA. What's your ultimate electronics setup? Check out the full selection of Beatdown Outdoors products by visiting beatdownoutdoors.com.
The new Android series is the peak of the Denali lineup and offers the ultimate Denali experience. The Android series features 36-ton multi-directional graphite combined with interlock blank technology for added strength. Each rod is outfitted with Royal titanium guides that will not fail. The blank is fitted into an easy-touch, soft-feel EVA foam grip with exposed blank reel seat. This all allows the Android to transmit every movement of your bait and even the most subtle bites. The Android series is the finest rod Denali has ever made and offers an angler the ultimate fishing experience with a limited lifetime warranty. See the full lineup of Android rods at denalirods.com. Vibrating jigs are a great choice for any time of year, and the Kamikaze Swim-On is a perfect match for any vibrating jig. 2 sizes and the unique tail design gives it a bait fish profile and a great swimming action for realism. There are 17 colors. See them all at bigbitebaits.com. The Spro Little John crankbait has been around for almost 15 years, and it is one of my go-to crankbaits whenever I need a fish in the boat, so you can never have enough new colors. That's why Spro's coming out with a handful of new colors, including Pearl Shad, which has this bleached out white look, but it's got this pearlescent, really, really pretty. We've got Copper Shad, which looks amazing in the water. It's got that purple flake on the back, really, really pops in the water. And then if you want some real pop, we've got Sparkle Shad, nothing but sparkles all over this thing. And then last but not least, we've got the matte Sexy Shad, just a really different looking color for a crankbait. So you want to give them a little different look, that matte Sexy Shad is definitely the one to go with. All these colors are available in the original Little John and the MD.
Combining one of the most popular hook styles with Gamakatsu's beefier Superline offering, the Gamakatsu Superline Offset Round Bend delivers the strength necessary to target big fish in heavy cover. Well suited for braided line and heavier fluorocarbon, the Gamakatsu Superline Offset Round Bend is built using stronger Superline wire that allows anglers to easily fish a finesse worm around heavy cover. The round bend offers a larger bite area, perfect for any worm presentation, while increasing your hookup ratios. The newly enhanced Z-Bend holds your plastics on the hook longer, reducing the number of pull-offs and reducing damage to plastics. Available in 2/0, 3/0, 4/0, and 5/0, this is the most durable worm hook, designed for heavier lines that hold your bait on longer.
Preparation is key to success. And that preparation starts well before you ever hit the water. You're only as strong as your connection to the fish, and your line is that critical connection. Confidence in your line every minute of every day on the water is a necessity, and failure, it's not an option. Sunline makes the fluorocarbon, nylon, and braided lines to give you the strength to guarantee your confidence.
All right, we are back wrapping things up with Jared Lintner. If I was to say, we'll just get everything out of the way here. You know what UGG is now. And if I was to say between the hedges, does that mean anything to you, Mr. Lintner?
I have some hedges.
You do have some hedges. Between the hedges. So Georgia has hedges, shrubbery.
Right.
Very famous shrubbery that surround the field. They're very hollowed. They're kind of like the trees at Toomer's Corner at Auburn.
I don't know what that is either.
Ask Steve about that. Ask Steve Kennedy about that. But the hedges are hollowed. So when they talk about between the hedges, that's where UGA, the Bulldogs, play their game. So very, very kind of hollowed, respected hedges there in Georgia as well.
I'm gonna go up there. I promise you.
I guess you could also be like a Georgia Tech fan. You could be a Yellow Jacket.
No, I can't do that. My buddies that I've became friends with, they would throw me out. I'd be done.
All right. Let's get to this. I remember, was it at the Bussy Break Caney Creek Derby at the beginning of this year that you broke out the Bubba shot or the power shot?
Yeah. Darbone, and then I've caught them pretty much all over the country with this Bubba shot, power shot, West Coast shot, whatever you. There's tons of different names. I just call it a power shot.
All right. So I've been accused on BTL on very highly regarded message boards of only asking questions that benefit myself, Jared.
Yes.
Which those are the only questions I know because that's what I'm interested in.
Right.
But this is a purely selfish question. I got my tail whipped at Sam Rayburn in the last Open by one between 8 and 10. And I thought that I had done what I needed to do. I bumped it up to 14-pound test. I went to a 3/0 medium wire hook. I added my own keeper on it. I had the 3/8. I had a 7/4 medium. I went to 16-pound braid, and I went with the 3,000 size reel. I thought I could handle anything that was thrown my way. And I was proven grossly wrong a minute into the fight after I got it stuck in the pile, got it out, got through the jump, and I couldn't move the dang thing. And it occurred to me, perhaps this is not the best setup when you're around the megalodons.
No.
The dinosaurs. So I'm gonna even go like big, try to go full screen on you here. There you go. All right. What did I do wrong? And the next time in a Bubba shot situation, what are we doing?
You had the right kind of concept, but your tools weren't where they needed to be. So it comes off of a drop shot. Obviously, that's where it all kind of, heavier line, heavier rods, heavier reel. Everything's heavier than, throwing a spinning reel, light line, that whole deal. So years ago at Clear Lake, the Delta, these fish getting a lot of education about, they're getting fished for a lot. They're back in the reeds. They're back in grass. They're underneath docks. Well, you get owned like you did at Rayburn. If you pitch a drop shot in there, everybody else is throwing back then it was brush hogs, big jigs, bottom contact baits. And then, you get bit, but the more pressure those fish got, you'd get less and less bites. So guys would, I remember doing it. I'd pitch a drop shot back in the reeds in a hole, get one on, break them off, come off, whatever. And you're like, dude, well, I just kept going up in line size, right? When you do that, you got to go up in rod size. You got to go up in hook size. You got to go everything pretty much other than your weight. So basically, here's the setup I got. Okay. So this is here, I have this one rigged on 18-pound shooter. Okay.
Oh, wow.
I typically don't go to a braid fluoro leader. I just go straight fluoro. So 99.9% of the time I'm throwing a shooter. Okay. Sunline shooter. It's the best, abrasive resistant, very low stretch, that whole deal. Fluorocarbon. So this is kind of what I start off with, 16 or 18, depending on the water clarity or the depth I'm fishing or the structure I'm fishing. Sometimes I'll go to straight braid, like 60-pound braid, FX2 braid, depending on what's going on. Like when we're in Florida here in a couple months, I'll have one rigged on straight braid, but obviously you got to go up in everything else you do, right? The reel size really doesn't matter. Like you said, you were throwing a 3,000. This is just a 2 or, standard. This is a Daiwa Zillion, just the same reel.
Baitcaster.
Baitcaster. Yeah.
I was throwing a spinning.
Well, that's not what you want right there.
I've noticed.
You're bringing a knife to a gunfight. So, excuse me, I think I got a gnat or something. So here's the hook that I mainly go with. This here's just a 6-inch fat robo. You could throw a regular 6-inch straight tail robo. You could throw all kinds of different creature baits. I got another bait here I'll show you. But this here is a Trocar 2-aught finesse hook. And what I do is, because it does not come with a bait keeper on it, and I actually talked with the Trocar guys about it, and we're thinking about, putting these in production with the bait keeper just for this reason. I actually tie one on here with some monofilament so the worm stays up there nice and good. But here's the thing. So I like this hook, just my preference, because that Pro V bend. But you can see when I got a stout rod, so that's a medium heavy 7'3". I mean, it's a stout rod.
Mm-hmm.
That hook does not flex.
Hold it up just a little bit more, a little higher.
So I don't see if you see that. It doesn't flex out.
Okay.
So you're using a heavy rod, you're using heavy line. If you don't have the right hook, like you said, you're using a medium wire hook, dude, you hang a big one or even a hot 3-pounder, that hook point is going to open up. You're going to lose that fish.
Okay.
Done, like gone. So that's the one that I like a lot for doing that. And then
is that like a flipping gauge then? So like I usually use a super light, like a light wire that I can open up with my hands, either that Gamakatsu with the tin keeper or something, like when I'm around spots and
Dude,
spinning.
I ruined on this last year in the spring. Ruined.
Even on spinning rods and light line?
No, that's different.
And that's what I'm talking. That's what I normally use. I went up to the medium gauge, but you don't think I went up enough?
No.
Okay.
Nope. I mean, this here says finesse, but it's not like a drop shot hook finesse.
Okay.
It's like a worm hook kind of a deal. So then here's the other thing. This here is just a Jackal chunk craw. I catch them on that on a power shot. I use a TK 130. This is actually their flipping hook, not monster, but just a flipping hook. So just like you would go flip, those laydowns over there, you rig that. I mean, if I was in some trees or some nasty stuff, I'm throwing it on that with a heavier rod, though. I'm going to throw a heavy action rod, not a medium heavy. So it's kind of like anything else, right? Whether you're, you can't throw a 1 ounce football jig on the same rod you're going to throw a 3/8 ounce finesse jig.
Okay.
You can't do it. So it's the whole system, right? If you have one flaw in the system, you're not going to boat those fish. I mean,
yeah.
It's same as what you're doing with.
So you're giving them the heavy lumber, just like you would if you were throwing a 10-inch worm or a football jig in there.
100%. Like, yes. If you have this set up and I have your hook or, a light wire hook, dude, you're going to lose them.
Because here's what happened. I got it out of the pile. I was like, cool. My beefed up spinning rod stuff works.
Yeah.
It jumps. I get through the jump, but when it jumped mouth closed, Jared. I told Holman, I said it whale jumped. It did one of those shoo with its mouth shut, not the Bassmaster jump where it's pegged and it's trying to throw it.
Right.
My theory afterwards was that I wasn't able to exert enough pressure with that spinning rod, the 14-pound test on that fish to even blow its mouth open and get a hook in it. And it just had a little bit of the hook point, and it finally decided to open its mouth after 45 seconds, and it just, boo. Is that what you think happened?
100%. 100%. Dude, it's the same thing. Like, you look at this technique without the drop shot, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Just like you're doing a Texas rig, okay? Are you going to throw that, that setup into a brush pile, a Texas rig into a brush pile on 10-pound line with a light wire hook on a medium light rod? No, you're not. So what's in your mind is that drop shot. Because you're throwing a drop shot, you're thinking that everything has to be finesse. It doesn't. I'm telling you, dude, like, I've caught them on 60-pound straight braid on this setup.
So the only thing that's finesse then is that bait presentation down there that you're able to quiver, that you're able to keep in place, that you're able to get in front of that finicky fish, and everything else around it needs to be power fishing mentality.
100%. 100%. Yep. I mean, that's all there is to it. It's not like, it's nothing like crazy. Like, I have this rigged up. If I'm flipping, I don't know, wherever, if I'm going down flipping bushes at Rayburn, right, and I'm catching them on a traditional Texas rig craw or a jig or something, if I feel like those fish are getting a lot of pressure, I'm coming back through there with this. You know what I mean? And you're going to get bites. I mean, I'm putting it in the same places. It takes a little while. One other tip I'll tell you with this: the shorter the leader on this, the better you can place it, if that makes sense. So if you have a long leader, it starts getting all wobbly, when you make a pitch or a flip. But the shorter leader, so I'll rig it like maybe 8 inches, and I mean, you can fish it through anything you could put a half-ounce flipping jig in, you can put that in. And 90% of your guys that you're competing against are going with those traditional tactics. So these fish ain't seeing that bait up off the bottom. They're seeing it, a jig laying on the bottom or coming through the tree. They're not seeing that bait right there. And another thing you got to remember too, we're not just talking about like, I don't just go down a sand bank and throw this. You know what I'm saying? You're putting it around docks, in bushes, in laydowns, around grass, in reeds. So just because, you you have heavier line and it's on a drop shot rig, there's so much other stuff to camouflage the line that I don't feel like those fish are going, oh, that's a drop shot and it's got this big old leader line attached to it. How many times have you caught fish and they have lines sticking out of their mouth because somebody I mean, dude, I think line definitely matters as far as, you don't want to throw 20-pound test shooter on a drop shot with a nose hook. I'm not going to do that. But everybody gets freaked out about just because it's a drop shot, you got to throw it on 8 or less. That's not true. Not true at all.
Is there a tournament fishery in the country that you don't think you could at least cash a check using a drop shot? I've asked this. My theory is I want to fish the entire open season next year just throwing a drop shot to try to qualify for the Elite Series. And I feel as versatile as it is, needing 12.5 to 13 pounds a day to qualify, not leaving any fish on the table, highly pressured fishery, 5 days of practice, 200-plus boat field. Do you feel like that's possible?
Here's what I'm going to tell you. Florida, with me and a drop shot, I've never really been like, dude, that's the deal. I've caught some on it, but for whatever reason, I've never, I've done this power shot deal and I've thrown a traditional, spinning rod next to isolated reeds and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I get more bites throwing a soft stick bait or a swim bait or something like a mag speed worm, something like that. So I would say 100% yes, as long as there's not a lot of Florida tournaments.
There's one in October.
Then you might be able to get away with it. I mean, I wouldn't go like, dude, that's the only thing I'm going to throw. But I would definitely, dude, I'm going to have 2 of these rigged up for that first tournament we have at Kissimmee. One straight braid and one probably that same setup I got right there. But yeah, no, the drop shot, there's so many different things you can do with it too. Like the baits, it doesn't have to be just a 6-inch straight tail worm or you could, dude, I've caught them on brush hogs. I've caught them on creature baits. I mean, beavers, it doesn't matter really. It's, if you want to mimic a bluegill, throw a freaking beaver on there or a spicy beaver or something. If you want to imitate, it's kind of up to you. It's a real versatile bait, and you can fish on everything from 3-pound line to 60-pound braid. But like we talked about, the most important thing is matching your equipment to what, the presentation you're going to be throwing.
Good stuff. You headed to break the Vexus in.
Got to roll, man. And then we got a deer hunt this evening. So yeah, we got a lot of stuff going on.
All right. I'll let you go. That was freaking awesome, dude.
All right, buddy.
Greatly appreciate it.
Yeah. When you're in the Bulldog state, let me know. You'll be traveling through here, probably coming down Interstate 20.
Now you just upset all the peach farmers.
Oh shoot. Yeah. Well, peach season's over.
It's the peach state, isn't it?
You know what's really good is those Vidalia onions. I don't know if you ever had those.
Yeah, those are good. They're kind of sweet. Yeah, that's the only onion that I'll eat raw.
Yeah, they stopped. The season's passed, so now we're back to regular onions. So
is that kind of like oysters, where you don't eat Vidalias only in months that end in Y or ER or something?
Where do you come up with all this stuff?
No, that's how it is with oysters. You don't. You only eat oysters in months that end in ER. So like June, July, August, no go.
Really?
But September, October, November, December.
No kidding.
I believe so.
I think you're just spinning a yarn.
I don't know. You Google it.
Everything, you just Google it.
All right. Take it easy, Jared. What?
What's the dog's name again?
Ugga.
Ugga?
Ugga. UGA.
Ugga.
Because
I got
University of Georgia, UGA. Ugga.
I got you.
And he hangs out. Where does he hang out? Between the hedges.
Between the bushes.
Now, don't call them bushes.
Hedges. Yeah.
See ya.
All right, buddy.
All right, that was the one and only Jared Lintner. Great information there at the end. Great interview. Learned a lot of stuff during that, and hopefully you guys enjoyed it. All right, a little recap of what we have coming up on Bass Talk Live tomorrow. One of the a pundit, industry veteran angler, Jody White. I believe he is making his way to the Toyota Championship at Gunnersville, which kicks off. He is going to be on to preview that tournament, talk a little bit about what's going on, what to expect from that. You know, I was talking with him on the phone yesterday, and he was fishing in an undisclosed location and just caught a 6-pound smallmouth. I don't even know what state he was in, but I said, dude, I'm looking at this, and you know, there is no Forestwood Cup or title or championship or whatever you want to talk to. Lintner, I believe, has won an Open championship. They don't have a championship in the Opens anymore. They just have an overall Angler of the Year. The U.S. Open is kind of a one-off event. You really only have Redcrest, and the Bass Nation Championship is kind of an amateur deal, kind of weekend style. So you really only have Redcrest, the Bassmaster Classic, and the Toyota Championship. So it's like top 3 of the biggest tournaments. You also have the biggest international field out of any tournament that's going on. The highest payout in a non-Redcrest or classic event, instead of $300,000, it's $200,000, and then more if you have if you're running a Phoenix boat, and representation 360, including a Western division. So that's a big tournament, really cool tournament, a lot of payout. So Jody White on. Then next week, yes, I did just see the article that came out this morning on bassfan.com. Red Crest champ Lane leaving the BPT. This is by John Johnson, who's been with Bass Fan forever. Bobby Lane, the 2022 Red Crest champion, is leaving Major League Fishing Bass Pro Tour and will compete in all 9 Bassmaster Opens next year in an effort to requalify for the Elite Series. My family and I really want to get back to the Bassmaster Classic. We had a wonderful time at Red Crest. Red Crest was absolutely amazing. It's what I dreamed about my whole career, but fishing the MLF Pro circuit the past few years, I really enjoyed my time competing in the weigh-in style and did not realize how much I missed it. I'm ready to shift gears and get back in that direction. He's in his mid-40s, Bobby there, and we've seen what Chris has done with the POW on the Red River and the Classic, how important the Bassmaster Classic is to Bobby, and I think that is a carrot that a lot of those guys, I mean, you have to look deep inside, and if you're going to spend your entire life chasing something and spend the tens of thousands of dollars with the family, knowing that you're not in the first half of your career, I think for some guys, they just want a chance to win the Bassmaster Classic. He's got a world championship. He's got a Red Crest. He has a Elite Series. He has an Open. He has a lot of the things. And I actually talked with Bobby yesterday, and I said, hey, well, he said he's actually shooting some commercial stuff today. Bobby will be on next Monday. We are going to talk about, he's got his kids tournament this weekend, so we'll talk about that. He's been doing a lot of stuff with the youth down there in Florida, so we'll talk about that. And it's he's like, dude, it's all positive. He's like, dude, he goes, it's just for me, and I want a chance to win the Bassmaster Classic. So you can't win the Bassmaster Classic unless you fish with BASS. It's kind of how that works. So Bobby Lane competing in all 9. And it'll be interesting to see if there's any other... my gut now, as we kind of get closer and closer to it, and you kind of have a deadline where guys are getting their schedules together, are figuring out what they're fishing, are working on their sponsor contracts for the next year. I don't think it will be as many fishing all 9 of the Bassmaster Opens as I originally thought. As a lot of us originally thought. I think there was a lot of talk, a lot of people who were looking at it, were seriously considering it, looking at the logistics of it, and I don't think Bobby will be the only one, but I don't think it will be a mass exodus as or even 10, 5, whatever. I think there'll just be a couple. It'll be interesting to see as that gets closer and closer to the start of both the MLF BPT season, the Invitational season, and the Bassmaster Open season. I'm just curious as to, I know Bobby qualified for, I don't know if it's in that article or not. Talks about how he won the Red Crest. He won. I do not know if he'll get to defend his Red Crest title. So, in 19, the guys who qualified for the Classic in 18 did fish in 19 and then went to the BPT, even though they weren't competing with Bass. Bass honored that. I do not know if he even got a invite into the 2023. Well, he's qualified for it through the 2022 season. So it'll be interesting to see what he does with the Red Crest. Guess we'll ask him that on Monday. Hopefully Marty Stone will have his water issues around the house and figured out. He did. He sent me some pictures. It looked like an absolute nightmare what he was dealing with. He will be on Tuesday, and then Wednesday, one of my favorite guests. He already sent a picture. Let me see what he described it as. I need to let me get down here and see what he described it as. He's holding a lure. It is a fan-driven mechanical frog. The fan blades turn when the frog is pulled through the water, and when the fan blades turn from resistance, it spins a vertical shaft that is linked to the legs, which make them kick. That is one and only, probably the most knowledgeable, antique lure collector on tour, Bernie Schultz, on Wednesday before he heads to a major antique lure event. He will be on next Wednesday. So that's all we got. BTL on a Tuesday. Jody White tomorrow previewing the Toyota Series Championship. Big shout out to Jared Lintner. Educational, entertaining, and engaging. As always, we will talk to you guys tomorrow.